On December 31st, in New York City, a 9-year-old girl met a boy she had never seen before. He walked up to her, started talking, and even helped her with something. Nothing about him seemed dangerous. In fact, he seemed normal. But later that same night, her mother was found unconscious, bleeding from her hand, and carved into her skin were the words, "You made her cry." Now at first, this just sounds like a violent attack. But it gets worse, because the name of that boy was something no one in that house should have known. Let's get into the video. If you were celebrating New Year's Eve in New York City, you probably remember how loud, how crowded, and how alive everything feels. But for one 9-year-old girl, that same night turned into something she would never forget. And honestly, even after hearing her story, I still don't fully understand what really happened. So this story was sent to me by a subscriber named Sophie Brooklyn, and according to her, this is 100% real. Back when Sophie was just 9 years old, she was living in New York City with her parents. It was December 31st, and like every year, the entire city was preparing for the New Year celebration. Times Square was already packed. People were waiting for the ball drop, and everything felt normal. But that morning, Sophie was waiting for her school bus. She had homework, an essay about New Year resolutions and family, and no matter how hard she tried, she just couldn't figure out what to write. That's when a boy walked up to her. There was nothing obviously wrong about him, but Sophie later said there was something off. The boy smiled and said, "Hey, do you need help? I actually wrote about this same topic years ago." At first, Sophie hesitated, but then she started talking to him. And the more he spoke, the more it felt like he wasn't just helping her with homework, he was trying to tell her something deeper. He told her that New Year isn't just about parties or fireworks. It's about making a promise to protect the people you love. And somehow, after talking to him, her entire essay just made sense. But before she could thank him, her school bus arrived. She quickly got on, and when she turned back, the boy was gone. No goodbye, no footsteps, just gone. Later that evening, Sophie was at home, still thinking about that boy, when she asked her mom for help again. But her mom was busy, and this time she got irritated and scolded her. Sophie ran to the garden crying, and then the same boy appeared again, standing right in front of her. He gently wiped her tears and said, "You don't look good when you cry." At this point, Sophie wasn't even scared anymore. She just asked him, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name is Thomas, and I live at 221B, Manhattan." Then he looked outside, paused for a second, and said, "It's cold. You should go inside." So she did, and the moment she walked into the kitchen, everything changed. Her mother was lying on the floor, unconscious and bleeding heavily from her hand. Panicking, Sophie called 911, and her mother said, "Please send an ambulance immediately. It's an emergency. Please proceed to 221B, Manhattan." As the ambulance rushed her mother to the hospital, something strange clicked in her mind, because the address her mother gave on the call was the exact same address that Thomas had just told her. At the hospital, the doctors stabilized her mother, but then they noticed something disturbing. The wound was not random. It wasn't an accident. Carved into her hand with a knife were the words, "You made her cry." When Sophie's father arrived, her mother started crying uncontrollably. And the first thing she said was, "Thomas." He was in the house, and the moment Sophie heard that name again, she froze, because that was the same boy. When her parents asked how she knew him, Sophie described him perfectly. Brown eyes, school uniform, same voice. And as she kept talking, her mother broke down completely. Then they told her the truth. 3 years earlier, on New Year's Eve, there had been an accident. Sophie and her brother Thomas were both involved. Thomas didn't survive, and Sophie, due to a head injury, lost all memory of him. The doctors had warned the parents not to remind her because the trauma could destroy her. But before he died, Thomas made a promise that he would always protect her. Hearing all of this, Sophie felt like her world just collapsed, and then she slowly turned toward the hospital window. And there he was, Thomas, standing outside, just watching her, not smiling, not moving, just there. And in that moment, it felt like everything came back. But before she could say anything, before she could point, he disappeared, gone, and this time, for good. Sophie says she never saw him again after that night, but every New Year's Eve, she lights 2 candles near her window, one for herself and one for her brother, the one who kept his promise. Because maybe this isn't a story about ghosts. Maybe it's about something stronger, something that doesn't end even after death. But if you think this story was disturbing, then you're not ready for what I'm about to show you next. There are people who claim they've seen something in the Dead Woods, Arizona, something that isn't human but looks exactly like one. Click here if you dare.